Monsters creep from their lairs. Kraken entwining ships. Sasquatch slaying campers. Giant ants wrecking tanks. And one news bureau has you covered. Turn up the radio, gentle listeners. It's time for breaking news, fresh from the teletype. Welcome to
Monster Bureau!
Thank you for joining Monster Bureau. We have breaking news, fresh from the teletype. We are reporting live from Launceston, Tasmania. Tourist narrowly escapes drop bear attack in Tasmanian bush. In an unusual wildlife encounter, a tourist experienced what could only be described as a close call with Australia's deadliest cryptid, the drop bear. This incident occurred yesterday in a remote area of Tasmania's dense forest by Cradle Mountain, a popular spot among hikers for its stunning vistas. According to eyewitness accounts, Jane Thompson, a 28-year-old tourist from Canada, was on a guided nature walk when she became the center of a peculiar attack that left her group terrified. Let's hear from Miss Thompson.
Suddenly, there was a rustling in the trees above us. Before I knew it, something heavy crashed onto my back. I thought my life was over. I was going to be a drop bear's lunch.
The attacker turned out to be a rather large drop bear, which slashed her back and gnawed on her scalp, leaving her a bloody mess. Wildlife experts suggest that the drop bear, likely a male, was displaying unusually aggressive behavior, possibly due to mating season hormones. Dr. Lisa Harrow, a wildlife biologist, said, "While drop bears are generally sluggish during the day, they can have their moments, especially during the breeding season." Thankfully, Thompson escaped and she required stitches, rabies vaccination, and testing for Ware koala disease. A guide swiftly ensured that the drop bear returned safely to its tree, while reminding tourists of the importance of looking up into the forest canopy and not trying to take selfies with blood-sucking monsters. This peculiar event has sparked a renewed interest in drop bears, reminding locals and visitors alike of the cautionary tales that are a staple of Australian bush culture. As for Thompson, she plans to continue her travels, albeit with a more cautious gaze towards the treetops. Welcome back to Monster Bureau. We are coming to you from the Royal Tasmanian Cryptozoological Research Centre near Cradle Mountain. Our guest is Dr. Cheryl Allen. She's the head of Tasmanian cryptozoology and teaches at the University of Tasmania in Launceston. Good afternoon, Dr. Allen. It's a pleasure to have you here to discuss one of Australia's most curious monsters, the drop bear. Can you start by telling us what exactly a drop bear is?
Thank you for having me. Yes, drop bears are a fascinating subject. They are a dangerous creature from the Australian outback and dense forests of northern Tasmania. They are often described as large, predatory versions of koalas.
And what are their feeding habits? Do they have a particular diet?
Sure, drop bears are carnivorous, preying on small animals and unsuspecting tourists. Their behavior is said to stem from their aggressive nature, which is in stark contrast to their more docile cousins, the vegetarian koala.
Why do they specifically target tourists?
For one, tourists aren't very aware of their surroundings. They're too busy taking selfies with different wildlife, and they don't look up in the trees.
Why would a drop bear develop a preference if it craves blood?
What's really interesting to know about the Tasmanian drop bear is that it has a preference for tourists from Canada and Great Britain. Our research indicates that drop bears can smell something unique in these tourists. For Canadians, it's the high quotient of maple syrup, making their blood sweet. As for the Brits, it's all the bangers and blood sausages they eat. It enhances the flavour of their blood, like barbecue sauce does for a steak. That can drive a drop bear into a feeding frenzy.
So, do drop bears ever target Americans?
No, not really. It seems Americans have too many preservatives, aspartame and red number 40 in their bodies. Drop bears hate artificial foods.
Doctor, why is Tasmania considered an ideal habitat for these creatures?
Tasmania's dense forests and cooler climate make it a perfect backdrop for them. There's plenty of water and prey in nearby campgrounds. They like nothing better than a bus full of scouts left unattended for an evening.
It seems like the drop bears are an invasive species to Tasmania, and they're noticeably larger than the ones found in the Australian outback. Why is that?
Invasive species can sometimes become larger in new environments where they have no natural predators, a phenomenon known as ecological release. Without predators, Tasmanian drop bears have thrived. This resulted in larger body sizes and more robust populations, as individuals have more opportunities to grow and reproduce successfully. For example, the Tasmanian drop bear is 30% larger than one found in the outback.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for shedding light on this intriguing part of Australian cryptozoology.
My pleasure. Remember, always look up when walking through the Australian forests. You never know what might drop down.
Welcome back to Monster Bureau. Joining us now is Charlie Newsom to read a passage from his book, Blood and Fire, 20 Scout Tales from the Bush. Take it away, Charlie.
In the heart of the Australian bush, our scout troop had set up camp, the sounds of our laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. We were a close-knit bunch, united by our love for adventure and the great outdoors. Little did we know that our serene retreat would soon spiral into a nightmare. As dusk settled, the distant crackling of flames sent a chill down my spine. The bushfire, fueled by the scorching summer heat, was descending upon us with terrifying speed. Panic gripped our camp as we hurriedly packed our gear, the urgency in our movements mirroring the intensity of the encroaching inferno. But as if the threat of the fire wasn't enough, a guttural growl shattered the already tense atmosphere. Drop bears, those notorious predators of the Australian wilderness, were on the hunt. With their razor-sharp claws and menacing growls, they descended from the trees with deadly intent. My heart raced as we huddled together, our eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. The drop bears moved with eerie silence, their predatory instincts honed by years of survival in the unforgiving bush. With nowhere to run and the fire closing in, we were trapped in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Desperation set in as we fought to defend ourselves against the relentless onslaught of the drop bears. We wielded makeshift weapons, our adrenaline-fueled efforts fueled by sheer survival instinct. But it was a losing battle, and one by one, my fellow scouts fell beneath the savage claws of our attackers. Just when all hope seemed lost, a sudden shift in the wind provided a slim ray of hope. With the fire momentarily diverted, we seized the opportunity to make a break for it, our hearts pounding in our chests as we dodged flames and evaded the grasp of the drop bears. As we stumbled to safety, battered and bruised but alive, I couldn't help but marvel at the resilience of the Australian bush. Despite the chaos and destruction that surrounded us, we emerged from the ordeal stronger and more determined than ever before. And though the scars would linger, they were a testament to our unwavering spirit in the face of nature's fury.
Thanks for sharing your story, Charlie. And now for some tips on how to protect yourself from drop bears. The first tip provided from Dr. Allen is to 1. Put forks in your hair. Through research, we found that forks in your hair can deter drop bears because they're afraid of getting hurt by the prongs. Next, you can take Vegemite and place it behind your ears as well as under your armpits. The smell, allegedly, keeps drop bears away. They can't stand the smell of it. And third, speak with an Australian accent. There's a playful claim that drop bears are less likely to attack people who speak with an Australian accent, and that they prefer other tourists. What's this? Just a Just a moment. I have breaking news coming in. Let me grab it off the teletype. And yes, we have reports coming in of a mega solenopsis destroying downtown Las Vegas. Yes, it is confirmed from multiple sources. There is a giant fire ant tearing through the strip. Get me on a flight to Las Vegas now. I've got to head out. Stay tuned for more about this emerging story. Monster Bureau is on the case. Thanks for listening to this episode of Monster Bureau. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, rate, review, and tell all your friends about it. It goes a long way and really helps. So we'll be back in about 2 weeks' time with a new episode on that fire ant attack in Las Vegas. Take care.